All right, welcome back to the 11th episode of Bullpen Talk. I'm here with my co-host Max Miller, and then Trey
Up.
Cehajic, a former Tulane pitcher and a current MLB prospect pitching in the draft league. So welcome to the pod, Trey.
Thank you for having me, boys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
dude.
problem, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you to the point you are today, and a little bit about your journey as well.
I'm from Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, and growing up, I played every sport. And then once I got to high school, I kind of just settled on baseball. I feel like that was the route that I thought would be the best for me, and I loved baseball the most. But I was always like pretty undersized, and I hadn't really hit my growth spurt and everything yet. I was like pretty tall always, but I hadn't filled out, and I wasn't very physical. Where kind of now you see these high school guys that are throwing 95, 97, some that are 100. And so I was a first baseman, and I don't think I ever hit a ball over the fence in high school, like even at our high school field. But then COVID happened my senior year and canceled us. And so I was coming back from Tommy John surgery, and it really gave me a chance to kind of get myself to where I could get in position to kind of fill out and take advantage of the stuff that I wasn't able to during the school year, or during I guess during our season. But I was able to kind of email some people, tell them that I like was still growing, and I think they liked that I was 6'7". I was really tall, and I was a left-handed bat, and so I started reaching out to a bunch of different junior colleges and small D1s, and started hearing back from them. And it kind of, luckily to my thing with COVID, they weren't able to come out and like see me play or anything, so they could just go off of video. So you can, I guess, make yourself look pretty good on video. They don't really know how hard a machine's throwing or whatnot, but I ended up talking to some of like the top junior colleges. I just looked up like the rankings. I knew nothing about junior college baseball my entire life. No one I knew ever went and did that, but I just looked up the rankings, started emailing away, and I was down to a couple of the big ones, and then McLennan Community College, where I ended up going there in Waco, Texas. They were the ones that kind of reached out and really liked me, and so I just started talking to them. They're preseason number one for that year, so I was like, "Oh, this is like the coolest thing ever." And I ended up going there, and a couple weeks before I got there, I hurt my back from hitting, so I wasn't sure what was happening. The doctors in Shreveport were just saying that it was muscles, and it was just kind of aggravated. So took a little time off and then tried to come back, and I just like could. It was hurting me to walk. It was hurting me to run, to try and swing. I just like had to shut down completely, and ended up getting a second opinion. They're like, "Oh, you have a fracture in your back, and my lower back." So redshirted my first year, and we ended up winning the Junior College World Series that year. So it was like a really cool first experience, like into college baseball. But it sucked not being able to go and play. But then I was healthy for the next year, came back, and I was expecting like to go and try to start and get some play time finally. And our coach, like a month before the season, called me in and told me that I was like still in his eyes pretty far away from where I was going to be fully mature. And he thought at 18 that I would be not as ready for that as I would be at 20 or 21. So he thought it'd be best interest for me to redshirt again and just take that year to really kind of go and just prioritize my development and growing into my body. And so I did that. It sucked to hear, but I did that. And then I went into the third year not really knowing what was going to happen as far as being able to still be on the team or whatnot. And that summer, they kind of joked around with the idea of me like pitching or starting to pitch because I was such a big, tall body, and I always had a pretty strong arm in the infield. So I kind of played around with that. They like had me throw a bullpen just because they were kind of, I guess, wanted to see what it looked like. I told them I was like, I've never pitched in my life, but I got up there. I was throwing like 87, 88, like, which is nothing crazy, especially there. Like guys are throwing in the low to mid 90s, but I think they're like, okay, we might have something here. But my exit meetings, they were telling me they don't want me to put down the bat. They want me to continue to hit and maybe just do both if the pitching thing like turned out to be anything. But our coach ended up leaving, getting the head coaching job at Baylor. So our hitting coach got the job, and he was asking me, he was like, "Do you like want to try and do both?" And I was like, I honestly think I should just go full on at pitching and just like see where it takes me. I think I could really have a shot to make it to a Division I school if I can just go and like show that I'm a big, tall guy. I'm young. I'm new into the pitching thing. So I went full head on with that, and it ended up being the best decision of my life. I went into the summer, worked hard, knew nothing about what I was doing. I was just kind of throwing on a mound and seeing how it was going to go. And I arrived at school, I was like 89, 91, top 92. And I just really got put on the map that way. I started getting some offers from some really big schools, some schools that were like dreams of mine, like LSU, I was talking to and really thought I was going to go there. But things ended up not working out and they wanted to see me pitch more. And then it just kind of fizzled out from there. And then I ended up hearing from Tulane, Coach Izio, who's no longer there, but he was my pitching coach for 3 years while I was there. He was getting in contact with me in the fall. I talked to him, but I told him I was like, I'm going to be honest. I'm between LSU, Oklahoma, and Baylor, and I've gone on all my visits, and I'm just going to narrow it down to those. And he's like, okay, well, if you want to just hold on, we want to try to get you on a visit here at Tulane. Like, we think you'd really like it. We'd be able to offer you like playing time and stuff like that to continue to develop. So I like had always thought Tulane was like a cool school. My grandfather and my grandmother both went there. My grandfather graduated from there. And so it was something always in the back of my mind that I was always pretty interested in, but I didn't know too much about the baseball program. But that was it from hearing from Izio. I didn't hear from him for a couple months. And then one day I was pitching, I was throwing really well during the season, and he DM'd me on Twitter and he was like, hey, like I don't remember exactly what he said, but was like, hey, like how's it going, man? And I was like, he has my number. Like, why is he DMing me on Twitter? So I texted him, I was like, I'm pretty sure like you have my number. And he's like, oh, I lost my phone, I lost all my contacts. Like my daughter or my son dropped it in a pool. And I was like, okay, so I thought it was kind of interesting. So then I hopped on the phone and he like from the minute I started talking to him, it was like you could just tell it was like a really like close knit coaching staff and like they were really cool and like down to earth. It didn't feel like you were talking to a college coach that you're kind of scared of talking to. We were just talking about whatever, talking about life, telling him my story. And um then we got off the phone and he was like, is there anyone else like that we should be looking at? And I told him Will Clements, Jack. I told him, I was like, that's
The
one of my
boy, man.
teammates.
The
Yeah, I
boy.
told him Will Clements, who's one of my teammates from junior college, and he's a really good pitcher, and I think he'd be great. And so it was like Easter Sunday. I was going to pick up crawfish with my dad or my sister, and we were going to pick it up, and I'm on the way to home, and he called me, and he was like, "We want to get you on a visit." Like both of y'all. It was like 3 days after I'd first talked to him for the first time in a couple months, and he was like, "We want to get you on a visit this week," and we're like, "Okay." Like we did. It was the middle of our season. We play Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. We're like, "Okay," and then he just like got everything going super fast. He was like, "We want to get y'all. Y'all can come on a Thursday after y'all play on Wednesday, get y'all turned around in a couple days, get you back for the Saturday game." And so we were like, okay, if our McLennan coaches let us do that, we'd love to. So we did that and we got down there. We had the best time together. It was like as soon as we saw Curtis, the general manager, at the bottom of the escalator at the airport, it was like it was just we knew this guy was awesome from the beginning. And Jack could tell you, Max, that this dude
Mhm.
Curtis is like he is the man.
Yeah, the boy.
So
For
yeah,
sure.
so we just like fell in love with it there and like we really kind of really got connected with the coaching staff and everyone from the strength coach to the athletic trainers to all the even the other support staff. They were just all super welcoming and it just made us feel like we were a family from the beginning. So I was like ready to commit the next couple days after we got back, and Will was still kind of he loved it but he was unsure about like if that's what he wanted to fully do. His girlfriend was a cheerleader at Oklahoma and he was previously committed there, and he was still holding a little hope about maybe going there with her for the last year. But then as like the next week or so went on, I was kind of pushing him. He's like, please just wait for me. And then finally we got to the point where like, all right, this is the place. Like we want to go. They were texting us and calling us nonstop. Like we just were really feeling loved from them, and like it was very reciprocated from how we felt about them too. So we committed there, and since then, um Sorry, previous guest Jacob Moore just trying to call me right now. Sorry.
Very good.
But we committed there, and we from then on we decided we were going to live together, and we've been best of friends for the last 3 4 years now. And so uh like looking back on my time at school, it was like I met some of the closest people that I'll have in my life for the rest of my life. And even though like we won a conference championship my first year, we lost in the tournament final the second year, and then this year we didn't make the tournament. But I feel like that's one of those things going forward, like in the next 20 or 30 years, like we won't even think about that stuff. It's just we're so close as friends that that's going to be the biggest takeaway from it all. But that's my story. Sorry, I was a little long-winded, but there was a lot kind of in there.
Nah, dude, I mean, that's a great story to have, you know? I mean, crazy to think about. I mean, you had all these issues, you had trials and tribulations, you had your Tommy Johns, you know, your back, everything like that was going wrong for you. And to see like how you took that as an opportunity every single time to kind of just make things work and get to where you wanted to go is pretty amazing. I guess from there, like, what is the biggest difference that you noticed, like going from JUCO and like going from winning the World Series at McLennan to going to a D1 big time college school, you know, like
Hmm.
what was the biggest difference there?
Yeah, so I would say differing from like some of these junior colleges that a lot of people go to or hear about, like at McLennan, they like treat us very well. Like our head coach, we had a Division I coaching staff, I would say. So our head coach, he had been there for 15 years or so, but he had coached at Baylor, he had coached at Auburn, he coached at Mississippi State. So he knew how Division Is like were ran, and that's how he wanted to run his program. He was a pro scout as well for a while. So they were super into running it like how you were going to try to be in pro ball or college once you took that next level. And all the coaching staff as well, like they all had that kind of Division I or pro ball background. So that jump for me wasn't as crazy, but as far as the funding and all the stuff that you're given and the food and the travel, like all that stuff, we didn't fly to go to games, but at Tulane, Jack could tell you we chartered everywhere we went, which was like
Yeah.
the craziest experience to think about. But it wasn't as big of a culture shock for me going from one place to the other, but just going from a school that was a small junior college and a town like Waco that's small, but it's really focused on Baylor and not McLennan. So you go to a place like Tulane where it's still a small school, but it's a super densely populated area like New Orleans, and Tulane has its own little culture about it as well, which was I thought was super cool, and it was super unique being from someone that's from Louisiana that I knew about Tulane, but I didn't really know about all the school and all the students and all that stuff like that. But I loved it. It was such a cool little experience to kind of take that next step up.
Yeah, to go off that, going from JUCO to Tulane, I would say like catching your bullpens and just seeing like you do your work. You were one of the most prepared guys, and you took your preparation before you went in the game extremely serious. So, where did you develop that preparation and the idea to take like getting ready for the game super seriously? Did that happen in, JUCO when you like switched to become a pitcher, or through your career at Tulane, you just learned like a certain routine that, got you to the position like to go out and pitch a great game for Tulane?
Yeah, I would say so. Like going from McLennan, I've played with multiple guys that are now in professional baseball or the big leagues, and so you just kind of like learn and take stuff from everyone. But being someone that was never a pitcher, I never had a routine. So I had my routine whenever I was a hitter, like you step into the box when you're on deck, different things like that. But I feel like that pitching stuff is something that you really have to kind of learn from doing it. It's not something someone can just tell you, but it was something my first year watching guys like Chandler Welch, who now is with the Brewers, or other guys like Taylor Montiel was someone who was my roommate my second year, and he went from someone that was almost a nobody to having like a 1 year just crazy run, and then he's just taken that into pro ball and continue to go up from there. But you just see how they kind of approach things like that. Michael Lombardi, a second rounder, like he was a two-way, but whenever he pitched, he was super locked in and dialed on everything that he was doing as far as like what he was going to be I guess eating on the day he pitched, or like the way that he kind of took his timing of everything. And I was someone that I was always in the back end of the games at McLennan. And so I had like a little routine, I would say, as far as I would do my bands whenever they told me like to start moving around. I had a little stretch routine I would do to try to get ready as quick as possible. But once you start going to the starting role, it's a whole new ball game. You have all day to sit there and think about what you're going to do leading up to the game. And so I kind of try to do that and try to be as most prepared as possible. But it was something that you'd always have to just like take little things, something I like, something I don't like, and then kind of go from there. But I feel like this year I really got to the point where I had a set routine. I knew what I was going to do in the weight room 2 hours before. Everything was down to the minute of my catch play and my bullpen before. So I think that stuff really can all feel these kids. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Let me,
all good,
let me,
man. You're
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
guess.
I was gonna, and one more thing off that too is, um, like you started this year as a starting pitcher, and then struck a little of adversity, and then you just like injuries and all that. You came out of the bullpen and you pitched phenomenal. So, do you think you put that towards preparation, or just like being able to adjust to like fill the best role that your team needed at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely tough. I had been the starter the last 2 years, and that was like a goal of mine going into the year was getting that Friday spot and never wanting to look back. You're never thinking, oh, like that's what's going to happen. You're going to end up having to move. But whenever they like talked to me about it, and like we sat down in Coach Ullman's office, it was something where like it's nothing that I can do about it. It's just the reality of it. So I've been through so much adversity, like y'all talked about. Like I know what that's like, and I know that moving from a starting role to the back end of a game is not going to be the end all be all of my baseball career. It's just what I can do about that once I get to that point. So I really, it was upsetting, but there's all you can do is just go and try to be the best pitcher you can in that spot, and ultimately try to win a game in a different way. You're not going to set the tone, but you can be able to sustain or finish it or just get us out of a big jam whenever needed. So I've been in that spot before at Tulane my first year, and then I'm at front end being the back end. So I knew what that kind of felt like, and so I was able to just kind of okay, I can take everything that I learned that didn't go well and just try to use that to the best of my advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like taking everything you've learned is really important from wherever you go, picking it up along the path. And I guess alongside with that, what would you say throughout the entirety of your baseball career so far? Who would you say is your biggest mentor or supporter? And what was the one thing that they've told to you that you would really want to pass on to the next generation of college athletes or baseball players in general?
Yeah, so as far as like baseball wise goes, I'd probably say like my pitching coach, Coach Izio, like we were really close, and he was someone I could always talk about whatever, good or bad. We just had that relationship just developed through recruiting. But someone like that doesn't know a lot about baseball, but as far as helping me was my dad. We like he played soccer. He's from Bosnia in Europe, so he has no idea about baseball. He's learned from me, but he grew up not knowing or playing it. But he's someone that always with me we just like talked about the mental side of stuff so much, and that was like how I could separate myself aside from the ability and the pitching stuff. Is just how good can I be with my mentals, and how good can I be with being able to control the game and slow everything down and not allow myself to get sped up in certain situations. Because I felt that a million times my first couple of years of pitching, even last year whenever I was a starter, but it was my first year doing it. You just certain things you can rattle you or speed you up, and you're not able to just think clearly. But breathing and stuff like that, that's something my dad, he'll send me countless reels on Instagram every single day. If he sees something, he's like, I don't even know what this means, but I think maybe it could help you. And so I think the biggest thing for hitters or pitchers, just anyone in baseball, is like they talk about it all the time, but the mental side is so much bigger than the physical side. It's just how well can you bounce back from something not going your way? Because in baseball, that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and with that too, is I remember me and you, I think it was Charlotte. We were hanging out in the bullpen and we were talking about that idea of like having a like a professional mentor or something like that. Obviously, you have an opportunity to pitch in the MLB draft league right now. So how's that going? I know I shot you a text and you said you're busy with all that stuff. So run us through what you're doing, what your routine's looking like right now, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. I didn't know much about it, but we're playing 51 games in like 60 days. So over the next 2 months, it's just like back to back to back. You're playing 6 games, sometimes seven in a week. And so it's a lot on that routine, like what you're gonna do as far as eating or working out, because you are playing every day. It's super hard to um, find a routine that is gonna suit your schedule because you don't really know what the next day is gonna hold. But just being around like certain people like that makes it such a like cooler thing. 'Cause you're with higher competition. You're able to just kind of see how everyone else goes about it.
And then what is the common thread you're seeing amongst like everyone in this MLB draft league in terms of talent, personality? Like what is that common thread for these people to get to that point in their career? Playing with the best of the best right before they get drafted or signed. Like what is that one trait that you think that all these people have that got them to that point?
Yeah, I think you can just the vibe in the locker room. You can just tell that these guys are like super experienced, and whether it's high school or college or junior college, like there's certain people on the team that you can just tell are like either a little more immature, they're not playing, so they're not really that bought into it. But here, it's like everyone that's playing here is trying to achieve high level baseball. So everyone, just the way they go about it, you just see the time we get there at 1 o'clock for a 7-5 game. Like that would never happen in college. People would show up right before a meeting or something. But here, guys are like on their own schedule, on their own time. They have to figure out when they're going to lift or hit. And they're not going to just not do that because this is their career depending on it. But guy that just walked by. I waved at him, but his name's Dave Tremblay. He's our manager, and he was a minor league manager for like 20 something years, and then he was an Orioles manager for like I think a few years, maybe 5 or 6 years. So he has so much experience. I think he's in his 70s, but he has so much experience and ball knowledge that like he's almost like teaching guys how to become a pro. Like even though guys now like they've been around it long enough, but it's just like that little extra kind of step up of being able to learn things that you never have been through. But it's just really cool to kind of learn from different people that have different backgrounds or have been different places, Division 1, high level, or guys that are um, they've always been super good in high school and college, or guys like myself that have been through a lot more. You just kind of learn different things from just talking to people.
100%. I guess kind of just dialing back the seriousness a little bit. I just wanted to ask you kind of a funny question. Basically, what was a moment mid-game that kind of like someone said something from the dugout or something like that that kind of just threw you off guard and made you like fuck up a pitch?
Let me think. I don't know if there's anything in particular that I
You
could
could
think
say
of right
throwing
off
a
the top of
bullpen to me before you went in the game or something.
my
Something like that. Oh, yeah, like
No,
honestly
no,
anything.
no. I mean, there's countless things. Jack could tell you. I was talking about it yesterday with some guys about our bullpen setup at Tulane. We're on the field, and there's just 20, 15 kids above you the whole time, just screaming, asking for. You're sitting there throwing a bullpen about to go in the game, and they're like asking for you to give them the ball. Like it doesn't make sense, but they're kids. They don't know any better. But like stuff like that, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I need to focus on what I'm about to do. But you've got these people that are sitting there yelling at you. If anything that I can think of, it would be like at Southern Miss a couple years ago, coming out of the bullpen. It was a packed house. They've been so good for a long time. And they've got their people that are lined up in lawn chairs right next to the bullpen, the visitors' bullpen that's on the field. And they are saying your sister's name, your mom's name, everything about you, your girlfriend's name. And it's just like you can't not think about it. Like you hear it, but stuff like that, yeah. I guess you just try to forget it as much as possible. But there's definitely so many funny things that are said to you, especially in an opposing fan's place.
Yeah, and that's really hilarious because like when I go to a Tulane baseball game, that's exactly what I'm doing to the other players, you know. That's exactly what I'll be doing. I'll sit there and
Uh,
I'll chirp them the entire time about everything. But
yeah,
I mean, that's one way to get in their head, you know, and I'm
yeah,
sure like
exactly.
if I were in your position, I probably would have been in my own. So
Yes.
Yeah, we had a few guys. I remember Coach Ullman texting me. He's like, "Appreciate your boys coming out to the game," and I guess like that's where the frat Jack nickname caught on, and like they would be like, "Yo, your boys coming out tonight." I was like, "I don't know, man. It might be a one and done." But So this is kind of a tough question if you can answer it. So obviously in the draft league, you probably have this guys with the same amount of talent. What's like one thing that like makes someone better? Like say you got two guys that are even, same fastball, same movement, same spin rate. What are like the attributes that would make them better than just like the other guy? You know what I'm saying? Just like the effort aspect,
Yeah.
professionalism. Like what do you see right now that
I would say just like the ability to stay like calm and composed whenever like adversity happens because it's gonna happen. There was last night in our game, our center fielder who's been so good for us in the last we've played 3 games, but he's been on a hot streak at the plate, playing great defense, and he dropped the ball that like he was just camped underneath and it hit his glove and he dropped it and it would have been the third out and a run ended up scoring because of it. And like you see stuff like that and it's like, okay, this for some guys this could go haywire and just they could crumble. But our pitcher who was pitching, he could tell just the whole game how composed and calm he is. And he just like didn't let it really fool him. He ended up walking the next hitter. And then some guys you could see that would just spiral them out of the game. They'd have to come get pulled. But he was able to kind of settle in after that and I guess take a deep breath. They went and had a mound visit. And then he just went after the next guy. I think he struck him out and got out of it. And so like stuff like that, you can just tell the mental side of how something that badly happens affects someone. And because you're right, everyone at a certain level has the stuff to be able to play, but it's how they are separating themselves mentally to be able to kind of whenever stuff's going good, they're good, but whenever stuff's going bad, they're able to just stay level headed and continue to just do what they do.
And then
Yeah, that's
have you changed anything, I guess, in the past 2 months that you're doing at, like Tulane that like now you're around these people, same talent level as you. Like have you changed anything in terms of like professionalism or like the way your routine that now you've been around people that, come from different coaching backgrounds and things like that?
I would say I haven't really changed much as far as how I'm going about doing everything. I feel like I always, especially at Tulane, was very good about being on a tight schedule and making sure I was doing what I needed to do at a certain time. If anything, I've kind of adjusted my routine a little bit, just like seeing how certain people go about getting ready to come. Like my first game I pitched, I came out of the bullpen. So I got to see like how guys before me that I didn't throw, how they go about like getting fire drilled, which is like you're sitting down, y'all are talking about Lord knows what, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this person needs to get hot. And it's like, okay, how fast can you get ready? And so I kind of like was watching guys do it the day before I was supposed to pitch. And they were just kind of like every couple innings or so while the starter was still doing good and whatnot, they would throw plyos, just like keep their body ready or go and start stretching a little bit. When sometimes at school, like you wouldn't know who's supposed to go when. And so you're just kind of sitting there, and then it's like, okay, they radioed down that Jack needs to get ready. So Jack's going to go and all of a sudden try to rush into doing something, and maybe he's not fully ready to go, and he's just going to rush himself into that. And then his mind is a little sped up going into the game. He comes in bases loaded, and you're just not where you need to be mentally, I guess, because everything you did to that point was just rushed. But seeing guys where there's no reason for them to even be thinking that they're coming in anytime soon, but they're going to do something that's going to like maybe get their blood going a little bit or get their arm moving a little bit. So then whenever it's time for them to go, they're ready to step on the mound, start throwing, and they're not rushing themselves.
Yeah, and I have like a question. I think that, what the current situation of college athletics, how it's like, you're seeing all these different, stories like NIL deals and all of this. Like, what's one truth that you would say that like no one talks about in Division I sports as like an athlete? Like, what's one thing that people might avoid or not talk about enough that you experience that you're not aware of before you go and play Division I baseball?
I would say that, especially now with like the NIL stuff, you hear about how much money some people are making. And like, I think maybe people think that that's like a reality for everyone, but when it comes down to like some of these people that I'm playing with now that are such good players, but maybe they don't come from schools that have deep NIL pockets and stuff like that, you really realize like you hear about it, but it's really not how everything is, you know? And I think that goes for a lot of things where you hear something, so you think that's how it is for everyone, but it really isn't the reality. And a lot of these people, it's like I know a couple of guys from some big schools where they had guys that were making tons and tons of money, and they ended up like they weren't playing well, so they ended up not playing at the end of the season, or like they were getting kind of replaced and stuff. But I think a lot of guys think, oh, I'm going to go here. I'm going to make so much money, or if I'm not making money, I'm not going to be able to pitch. When it really doesn't come down to that. If you're pitching well and you're going to hit well, like, you're going to find a way to play.
Yep.
Yeah,
I've
for
actually
sure.
got the final question for him.
Yeah, I guess so. This one's kind of an unorthodox final question, but I guess this is just kind of something I thought would be kind of silly to hear about. You have a walk-off song or like a walkout song, do you?
I
Or
do, yeah.
you do. What is it and why?
Okay, it's "Run This Town" by Rihanna,
Mm, great
and
song.
I really like the song. And I would say the reason I don't know. I always hitting. I did "Can't Stop" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then my first year pitching at McLennan, I continued that and I did that. But then I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I got to Tulane. I ended up going with "Hood Gonna Love It" by J Rock.
Mm,
It was a good song. I don't know if it really fit my vibe too much, but I wasn't sure. I wanted something that was going to be kind of more upbeat. It kind of feels like it gave me energy when I was going in the game. But I mean, the amount of times I think every baseball player's done this, where you're looking up like best walk up songs for blah blah blah, and you're just going and like listening and saying, "Okay, do I like this or do I not?" And that one was one that I like really liked, and my girlfriend liked it, and so I kind of wanted to just stay with that, and then I continued it this next year, and that's mine right now for the draft league too. Just it's a good song. Whenever I hear it, it pumps me up a little bit, so might as well just keep with it.
Yeah, man.
absolute banger.
Thanks for hopping on this pod, Trey, and hopefully they got you a good bullpen catcher out there, man.
Good story for you. Yesterday we had JD was our bullpen catcher. JD's on my team up here, JD Rodriguez, and so he had the bullpen catch because our bullpen catcher, our second catcher, had to leave the game. So JD was wearing gear and bullpen catching, hadn't caught in who knows how long.
That's
But
awesome. I mean,
That's hilarious.
look, probably as close as me. Probably close to me.
no, Jack, no one's as good as you.
Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate it, Trey, and we wish you the best, man.
Yeah,
Thank you, boys. I appreciate it.
of course, man.